coming to the political part of it, you said that India was also in turmoil, like Punjab, Kashmir, insurgency, all of it together, and then came this build-up on Ram Mandir. Politics should have been a big headache for Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. And how did you people see him leading that front? Because today Punjab insurgency was down, Kashmir, some other the issues came down, but unfortunately Ram Mandir took its a different shape.
Well, Mr. Cherian, you have touched upon a very, very important area of work that was done very quietly. India was in social turmoil from '89 because of VP Singh government suddenly declaring the Mandal Commission and implementing it as reservation for the OBCs.
Yeah.
Then there was political turmoil in Punjab. Kashmir, when he took over, the militants had taken over the Lal Chowk, the central part of Srinagar, and hoisted their flag. And Northeast was always simmering.
Yes.
And because of unstable governments which preceded Narasimha Rao's government, and they not having sufficient time, almost all the foreign magazines, even Indian media, had almost predicted that India is going to be a failed state. On top of it came the economic and financial crisis, and a minority government.
Yeah.
This was the political scene that he inherited, so he had to deal with it in a very, very solid way. He did not shout about it. Very quietly, brick by brick. One, he tried to address the militancy in J&K. I was a member of a group of secretaries he had constituted. We used to visit almost every month Kashmir, talk to people, trying to see development takes place. Both the politician bureaucracy in J&K and the militant did not want education, health, and any progress to take place. Because if Kashmir remained backward, if people were poor, they could exploit them.
Yes.
So brick by brick, he went on sending delegations, meeting people across the political spectrum, trying to bring them round without confrontation.
Okay.
And as a result, almost all the political parties in J&K, like the National Conference or the other groups, all felt that militancy should be ended.
Okay.
People were really fed up of militancy in Kashmir. They wanted tourism to come back because it is their mainstay. There is nothing else till now.
Yeah.
And then a masterstroke was he never confronted Pakistan openly. Went on meeting the Prime Minister of Pakistan wherever the opportunities occurred. Went on talking about terrorism and bringing normalcy to J&K. Then international diplomacy, he used it very cleverly because India had opened up. The foreign business and industry had developed a stake in India. He used to say, my external affairs ministry will now become less important because the international business will become my ambassadors.
Okay.
That was his way of looking at it.
Okay.
And he said, I'm addressing the stomach of the Western Europe and America by opening up sectors like power, telecom, and various other sectors.
Okay.
And because of that, the United States became less hostile to India.
Okay.
And saw the perfidy of Pakistan.
Okay.
And it is the US ambassador who, all the ambassadors sent to J&K to see what is happening, what is the people's opinion. They came back and reported to him that people want peace, people want elections. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Once the US government turned around,
Yeah.
the international media became less hostile to India on Kashmir.
Okay. And
And
also
Kashmir.
the same way the Punjab also happened, I think.
Then Punjab,
Yeah.
he gave free hand to the Chief Minister of Punjab, Mr. Bayan Singh.
Yeah.
And although he said he set up a Human Rights Commission so that people need not go to Amnesty International with their grievances.
Yes.
That is the master stroke.
Yeah.
Setting up India's own human rights, credible human rights commission. Thus started going to Kashmir, hearing the militants' version as well as the security forces. Because what was happening was, because the militants group had access to Amnesty International, other human rights groups, they were getting a lot more
publicity
play in the international media,
yes,
whereas their own atrocities were not getting projected.
Yes.
So it was a very step-by-step approach, both in Punjab as well as in J&K, that he addressed internal security to internal diplomacy by talking to everybody, including the opposition parties. In fact, none of the opposition parties wanted to participate in the elections.
Yeah.
He wanted to have elections in October 1995. In an all-party meeting, BJP and the left parties refused to participate in the election.
Okay.
And Farooq Abdullah demanded various conditions when he was approached to participate in the elections. They were all scared of the militants.
Yeah, they were given up on the whole situation. I remember that.
Yeah.
So
he said, unless the political process is revived in J&K, the militants will have an upper hand.
Yeah.
I do not want whether Congress wins or anybody wins. I want the political process to
happen.
Come alive in J&K. That was his approach.
So coming to Ram Mandir issue, that's considered to be a bolt on his legacy. Do you think it could have been prevented? If you have been saying that in the book also, you said that he did everything and trusted people, the state government and the political parties, but they ditched him at the last minute. Do you think there was any way it could be prevented? Because the way it is gone about in after that, it has become something else now.
I'm not trying to either defend or to attack him on any of the issues. I have stated in my book what I saw, what I discussed with him, and my own small little role throughout the crisis. In the government of India, except the then Home Secretary, Mr. Madhav Godbole, and Mr. Arjun Singh, who advocated dismissal of the government and deployment of the army. Neither the Home Minister nor any other minister in those meetings I did not see strongly arguing for dismissing the government. That was because there was an elected government. It had given a sworn affidavit to the Allahabad High Court that they will protect. In my book, I have cited all their assurances given, which are reproduced in the Ayodhya white paper by the government of India. And several times, the Home Minister, Mr. S.P. Chauhan, visited the Babri Masjid to strengthen the security, and he offered to send central forces. But the state government said, we do not need central forces, our forces are adequate to protect. Then, under the constitution, you cannot deploy the central forces or the army unless the state government specifically asks for the services, or you dismiss the government. Then the governor of UP, not appointed by Narasimha Rao.
I know Satyanarayan Reddy, I remember,
Mr. Satyanarayan Reddy.
Yeah.
He said, I will not take over the state administration, because if I try to take over, that structure is likely to be destroyed even before I take over, and the whole blame will be on you and me. So the governor gave this kind of this thing. And without the governor's report, can you recommend President's rule to the President of India? People have forgotten. In 1992, mere apprehension of breakdown of constitution is not a ground for dismissing the government.
Oh, no. It was a
The
difficult.
same media that is criticizing Narasimha Rao for saying that he was prevaricating, he did not dismiss, hailed K.R. Narayanan president, K.R. Narayanan in 1997 when he refused to accept the cabinet report to impose president's rule in Uttar Pradesh because Mulayam Singh wanted Mayawati government to be removed. The Gujarat government recommended president's rule. Within 1 hour, returned it saying that there is no sufficient ground for dismissal.
Okay.
So the Constitution of India, as the Liberan Commission has very clearly said, is inadequate to deal with the situation where a government that is sworn to uphold the Constitution, that gives an affidavit to the Allahabad High Court, that was recognized by the Supreme Court, fails to honor its own affidavit.
Yes.
Now, is it a failure of the Constitution, the failure of the judiciary, the failure of Mr. Narasimha Rao as Prime Minister? It is for history to decide.
Yes. That is any which way, it's a very unfortunate situation which he has to face. So, looking back, the one important question, we have just 2 minutes. So, briefly, did Narasimha Rao's party support to his initiatives, his crisis management was adequate, and the way they have gone about his legacy and his remembrance, what do you think shows the support or lack of support or lack of appreciation?
See, unfortunately, the Congress party itself did not want the legacy that behind Narasimha Rao to be recognized by itself. It rejected it.
Okay.
The greatest credit goes to Narasimha Rao for giving an economic muscle to the political system.
Okay.
Then, in the international diplomacy, introduced an economic factor that is more dominant today than the political factors.
Okay.
Today, if India is occupying a seat at the high table in international economics, it is because of those reforms. In addition, it is the economic reforms that have integrated the country.
Yes.
It made it into a common market.
Yeah.
It is not Hindi, it is not Bollywood, it is the economic reforms. Today, people from North are coming to South. Southern people are going to North for jobs and incomes.
Yes.
So people are facing each other.
Yes.
And trying to discover each other through tourism, travel, and jobs and incomes.
Yeah. Okay. About the legacy, how do you see his legacy, political, economic, especially when not only India was in crisis, the world was changing thanks to the collapse of Soviet Union and the end of Cold War?
See, the legacy of Narasimha Rao should be divided into tangible and intangible. On the tangible side, the economy, which was downhill, going down, and almost we were going to be a failed state. From there, he pushed it up, leveled it up, lifted it up to become an economic power. And today, whether you look at the infrastructure development or you take the industries development, the Make in India campaign, or any of the things which are now others are claiming credit. When the government did not have money, when it was in a crisis, he laid the foundations for all these developments in an unheralded way. He did not boast about it. For instance, today logistics industry is very big. Do you know the Narasimha Rao government that brought what is known as multimodal transport legislation? That is the foundation for any logistics industry.
Yes.
Then, I mentioned earlier, from a $266 billion, the economy today has grown to about 3 trillion. People are aiming for a 5 trillion or more.
Yeah.
This would not have happened without that reform and laying the foundations. Others are building upon it. Trajectory the same.
Okay.
Then you come to intangibles. Talking about intangible gains the country has, the image of India for the first 40 years for the country that depend on imported food, that depend on foreign aid, and the whole international media only focused on the cultural and traditional aspects of India. The modern phase of India came with the economic reforms. And that is the biggest gain for India. For instance, India's soft power in terms of its IT industry or its educational sector, human resource, all these are showcased today at a very big gain of this country. The foundations were laid for the last 75 odd years by various governments, and Narasimha Rao government, by giving an economic dimension to the Indian development, enabled the country today to not only progress, but also become the darling of the international media.
Okay.
Today, US is toasting it. Every other country wants to have a relationship with India because they see an economic stake in relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the biggest gain that occurred was in 2009 when the US imposed sanctions after India exploded a nuclear bomb. In fact, Narasimha Rao wanted to experiment with that in 1995. Unfortunately, he could not do it. His government fell. And the credit went to the Vajpayee government. When the UPA government came, the US did not want to lift the sanctions. The entire Indian business and international opinion and American opinion worked to make India recognized as a nuclear power.
Okay.
And when Narasimha Rao had argued for opposing the CB, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty in 1991 onwards, and he had almost prepared for the explosion of the nuclear devices in 1995. The credit was taken by the next government.
Okay. But
So I want to read a small little paragraph from this book,
okay.
which will give you an idea of his legacy. The credit for announcing India's nuclear power went to others. In the same way, the credit for making India an economic power is mostly accorded to others. He did not become the face of the reforms, allowed his finance minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, and P. Chidambaram to be the face of the reforms.
Yeah.
But the man behind all these people, supporting them politically, was Mr. Narasimha Rao.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, sir, we also saw too many scams these days, whether it is telecom, fertilizer, and the sugar import scams. So, was it a result of this changing approaches? Then, of course, there was an entrenched Western industry system carrying on for years, because drastic changes also meant that these Western industries get exposed.
See, I have referred to 5 major scams which involved government personalities, where the government had to deal with it. Since independence, India has about 300 odd scams under every regime, including the present one.
Yeah.
Therefore, to say that only Narasimha Rao government faced scams or scandals is not very correct. For instance, Harshad Mehta scam, he dealt with it very boldly, agreed to a joint parliamentary affairs, a parliamentary committee to probe. Where he politically failed was when the joint parliament committee report named 2 ministers, he did not want to dismiss them. He wanted them to quit honorably because there are political reasons. In the sugar scam, again, he did not deal with this decisively, which I have pointed out. In fact, I suggested to him that he appoint a judicial commission. Instead of that, he ordered an administrative inquiry. did not dismiss the minister who was involved in it.
Right.
There are no telecom scams.
Yeah.
The telecom reforms was opposed by both the BJP and the left parties. The scam related to the telecommunication minister, Mr. Sukram, making money in the purchase of equipment. And Narasimha Rao was responsible for ordering the inquiry because when he was arrested in 1996, which was a coalition government supported by Narasimha Rao's Congress party. Without his nod, Mr. Sukram would not have been touched by the successor government that depended on the Congress party support.
Yes.
In the case of the fertilizer scam, I have seen papers where both the principal secretary and the cabinet secretary recommended CBI inquiry. Narasimha Rao said approved. He did not deserve that. Only failure he had was in taking firm action against ministers who were named because he wanted to give them an honorable exit.
Okay. Okay. Did that lead to widespread belief or give an opportunity to the opposition that, of course, the reforms are fine, but there is corruption, increasing corruption, and thereby Congress party, and in fact they lost elections. So did that was it all this build up which led to that?
It is not so much a scam that led to his defeat in 1996 elections. The Babri Masjid demolition cost him, one, the Muslim votes. Then the credit for demolition went to the BJP. This credit went to Narasimha Rao.
Yes.
So he lost both the Hindu votes and the Muslim votes. Second, the party itself did not come around his leadership.
Yeah.
Because there were internal dissensions and there was always an attempt to dislodge him from power. And this led to disunity within the party, which divided the political focus. And as a result, in 1996, he was not a charismatic leader. He had become accidental president of the Congress party and prime minister. The rank and file was not enthused. It was a failure in terms of political communication, which several times I mentioned to the prime minister, saying that you are an economic success, but political communication is not going through. None of the government ministers ever spoke about reforms, about the achievements of the government. He tried to win the election on his own without claiming credit for the entire government record.
Yeah. But the way his own party has treated him during his funeral and later, don't you think that it is, I think his party and the history or the country, we are being ungrateful to him, a man who has done so much of, initiated so much of changes in the economy, and everybody is, enjoying the benefits of the changes.
It is very true that the party, particularly after he quit, did not want to give him the credit for the economic reforms, nor take the credit for the economic reforms. That was his biggest failure. It failed during the UPA's 10-year rule to claim that we are the authors of this. Even today, it is not claiming credit for whatever progress the present government is claiming it is achieving, as if it is doing everything on a clean slate.
Yes.
The significant foundations the government of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao laid between 1991 and 1996 are today responsible for India to shine. Even the BJP campaign of 2004, India sharing, would not have been possible without that foundation.
So, in short, you are saying that here is an unsung hero who is behind the progress of this country today, and I'm sure the readers of your book will know the details because you have dealt very many issues at length, including the political issues like Ram Mandir, Kashmir, and Punjab. And I went through it. I think for me it was a refresher of many of the things which I, as a reporter, went through. You were there, and now I know the details of a lot of these things. The same way when the ex VSNL chairman B.K. Singhal wrote about the telecom things, one felt the same thing, because a lot of these things which we knew in parts, you have put them in as in a book, and it's a wonderful story, I'll say, to read how Indian reforms and all the sectors which we are proud today. Like everybody has a mobile phone these days. I remember in 91, only 1 crore mobile phones, and today over 100 crore phones are there in the market and in the country, thanks to the reforms. And I'm sure it will be a compulsory reading for anybody and everybody who wants to know about Indian reforms. Thank you, sir, for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for this
Thank you.
wonderful opportunity given to me. Thank you, Mr. Cherian.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay.